So one of the most difficult tasks that will most managers and MDs and CEOs will actually ever kind of come across, especially when you move to a new job and a new team, is to get people on board with what you want to do so that actually you can make change and make impact. I think you'll probably know that I love my sports analogies and I love to kind of link in different things from different parts of my career. But actually, it's so true, and I've seen it recently where you might have all the technical expertise to run brilliant teams and know exactly what the strategy should be and how to drive a sales pipeline and all the stuff that you want to do. But when you first actually get into the job, I think 70-80% of the actual job isn't just in the tasks to do. It's the human element of leadership, empathy, listening, that in a sports term, it's how to win the dressing room. That if you are a sports manager, you go in to manage Manchester United and the team turn on you, the players don't like you, especially there'll be one or two kind of key players, the Cristiano Ronaldos, the big personalities. If you don't win over the dressing room and get them behind your vision to work together, it'll be 10 times harder to actually make a difference. And what I wanted to do was just a really quick segment to kind of talk about this as just tips and tricks that if you're going to coach a new sports team or to manage a new team or you start a new job or you start a new business or take over someone else's business, there are things to do which will just help you be successful. And this, as a leader in a business, your job often isn't just to do the work yourself, it's to help other people do it more efficiently and make their world better so that the machine and the business itself becomes better. And when you kind of realize that it's not so much about you, this is really important because the worst thing in the world is you go into a new job, you maybe clash with personalities with some people, it doesn't quite work out, and either they get fired or you do, but it doesn't have to be that way. So the first thing, it's to win hearts and minds. The most important thing with any transformation project is to get people on board with what you're looking to do, why it's good for them, why they should want to kind of support you. And the way to do that is to actually have a common goal and mission. Often one of the classic mistakes is that you go in and you just broadcast what you want to do onto a group of people, but then they don't feel part of the process. So genuinely what you should do, and it's the key part of any kind of consultancy, is to spend a good amount of time whilst you create your plan to listen, speak to different people, ask them what would they want, how would they do it, and at least they feel consulted in the process, that if you later say to them, actually, I don't think we can do that, but we can do this. What do you think about that? This is the challenge that we have at the moment. How should we solve it? But it's a very collaborative approach. What you're essentially trying to do is win people over, but actually, win them behind the same mission and goal that you all have, but you're not just telling them what to do. And I think that's really important to do that before you start to stamp your authority and basically get people to do what you want. Yes, of course, if you are in a position of authority, you can in theory do that and force people to do what you want them to do, but it probably won't end well in the long term. So actually this kind of process of just, it's the human softer skill element is something really important to do. And actually, if you lose people and they turn against you, and this can happen really quickly, I think within a day, if not less than that, if you approach them badly, things can get 10x harder, 10 times harder. As soon as people put up their emotional walls and barriers and they don't like you, it doesn't matter what you say, or how well you say it, or how well you phrase it, or how much common sense it makes. If you do lose people, it's going to get so much harder, that it's in everyone's best interests to kind of just make it happen. And I know some people will say, well, actually, I'm the boss. They should just do what I tell them to do. That is true. But also, people do judge you on leadership, and that it's the end result that not matters. You don't want the clash of styles. And relating to this, any really good leader or manager knows how to actually adapt their style to different people, different scenarios, and different personalities to get the best out of the team, that yes, you can know all the technical tools, tips and tricks to do stuff, but essentially you still need other people to do it. So it's how do you get the best out of your team? And that might actually mean changing the way that you communicate, changing the way that you share information, and just, changing your management style. But actually it's the most important thing to do. And then last but not least, it's actually looking at or knowing who are the key people that you have to influence. So when I mentioned before about board members, there will be one or two people on the board who are a lot more influential than other people. Or in your office or workplace or whichever, there will be a small number of people that have an artificially large amount of influence. They might be the cool kids, they might be the mouthy one, they might be the one who has most to lose through you coming in. But the point is, there will be these key people in every business, and what's really important is to identify who they are and make really good friends with them. Because actually the worst thing in the world is that if you ever feel like someone else, especially if they're more senior, is undermining you, it's a horrible experience. And I've kind of fallen foul of this in the past, where people I thought to my face were really nice, but actually in hindsight they weren't. It's just having a conscious awareness of actually things to do, that if you can win over and make friends with those kind of people, it's a really good start to help you get a really good result. And one great way to do that is actually to ask them for advice, show some vulnerability, but it shows that you value their opinion. And the hope is that that actually brings them to your side, and you look to kind of implement your change progress. I'd love to know genuinely, have you ever had a really good manager, a really bad manager? What was their style? How did it work? And this is true at sports teams. You see it in the press all the time, where there was one with Chelsea a few years ago where their best player at the time was a guy called Eden Hazard, and they obviously just disagreed. And often it's the manager that gets fired because the players are the people actually on the pitch. But nobody wants that. You don't want to lose your job, and you don't actually want this conflicts in the workplace. So actually, anything that you can do, but I would love to know your experience and stuff as well.